In the dim light of a New York hotel room, an old man sits by the window, his frame gaunt, his suit immaculate but worn thin at the edges. Outside, lightning splits the sky. For a moment, the room flashes white, and in that brief illumination, you can see his eyes, still sharp, still burning with something the world has long since stopped trying to understand. His name is Nikola Tesla. He is 86 years old. He is alone. And in his mind at this very moment, the future hums like a turbine spinning at impossible speed. He does not fear the lightning. He never has. To him, it is not destruction, it is conversation. A language written in voltage and frequency, in waves that ripple through the invisible. He has spent his entire life listening to that language, translating it into motors and coils and towers that reach toward the sky. And for most of that life, the world called him a dreamer, a madman, a fool. But the world was wrong. Tonight, as the storm rolls over Manhattan, Tesla closes his eyes and sees what he has always seen, a planet wrapped in invisible threads of energy, where information travels without wires, where power flows freely through the air, where distance is no longer a barrier but a bridge. He sees the 21st century. He has always seen it. The tragedy is that he was born 100 years too soon. This is the story of that man, not the myth, not the legend whispered in internet forums or conspiracy videos. This is the story of Nikola Tesla, as he actually was brilliant, broken, visionary, and heartbreakingly human. A man who solved problems the world didn't even know it had. A man who gave us the modern age and died forgotten, feeding pigeons in a park. Let us rewind. Let us go back to the beginning, to a night much like this one, when lightning first spoke to a boy who would never stop listening. The year is 1856. The place is a small village called Smiljan, nestled in the mountainous region of what is now Croatia, then part of the Austrian Empire. It is a place of stone churches and wooden homes, of candlelight and horse-drawn carts. The Industrial Revolution is beginning to churn in distant cities, but here, life moves slowly, governed by the rhythms of the land and the seasons. On a July night, during a violent thunderstorm, a child is born. His mother, Duka, is a woman of remarkable intellect, though she has no formal education. She invents tools for the household, mechanical egg beaters, looms, devices that make life a little easier. His father, Milutin, is an Orthodox priest, a man of books and sermons, stern and devout. The boy is named Nikola, and the midwife, watching the storm rage outside, makes a comment that will echo through history. She says the child will be a child of darkness, born in such a storm. His mother replies, "No, he will be a child of light." She could not have known how literally true that would become. From the beginning, Nikola is different. He sees things others do not. Not visions, but patterns, structures, systems. When he closes his eyes, images appear in his mind with such clarity that he cannot distinguish them from reality. He will later describe this as a kind of photographic memory, but it is more than that. It is as if his mind is a workshop, and in that workshop he can build entire machines, test them, refine them, all without touching a single piece of metal. As a child, he is obsessed with how things work. He takes apart clocks. He builds water wheels in the stream near his home. He catches frogs and examines their legs, trying to understand the mechanics of movement. And always, he is drawn to electricity. He rubs his cat's fur in the dark and watches the sparks fly. He asks his father what lightning is. His father tells him it is the voice of God. Nikola wonders if God speaks in frequency. But his childhood is not easy. His older brother, Dane, dies in a riding accident when Nikola is only 7. The family is shattered. Some accounts suggest Nikola blames himself, though the details are murky. What is certain is that from that point forward, he carries a weight, a sense that he must achieve something extraordinary, not just for himself, but for the brother who never got the chance. His father wants him to join the priesthood. Nikola resists. He wants to study engineering. The tension between them is quiet but profound. Then, at 17, Nikola falls gravely ill with cholera. For 9 months, he hovers near death. In desperation, his father finally relents. If Nikola survives, he can study engineering. Nikola survives. He enrolls at the Austrian Polytechnic in Graz. And it is here, in the lecture halls and laboratories of the Polytechnic, that the spark becomes a fire. Picture a young man, tall and thin, with dark eyes that rarely blink. He attends lectures on physics and mathematics, but he is not merely listening, he is arguing. When his professor demonstrates a direct current dynamo and explains its limitations, Nikola raises his hand. He suggests that alternating current might be more efficient. The professor dismisses him publicly, calling the idea impractical, perhaps even impossible. The other students laugh. Nikola does not laugh. He goes home and begins to think. For years, the problem consumes him. Direct current, the system championed by Thomas Edison and much of the industrial world, has a fatal flaw. It cannot travel far. Power plants must be built every few miles. It is expensive, inefficient, and limiting. Alternating current, which reverses direction many times per second, could theoretically travel much farther with less loss. But no one has been able to build a motor that runs on it. Nikola becomes obsessed. He works through the night, sketching designs, running calculations in his head. He suffers from what he will later describe as nervous exhaustion, intense headaches, flashes of light, a hypersensitivity to sound and touch. Some biographers suggest he may have had a form of synesthesia or obsessive-compulsive tendencies. Whatever the cause, his mind operates at a frequency the world is not accustomed to. And then, one afternoon in 1882, while walking through a park in Budapest, it happens. He is reciting poetry lines from Goethe's Faust when suddenly the solution appears in his mind, fully formed. Not as an equation, but as a vision. He sees the rotating magnetic field. He sees the alternating current motor, spinning without brushes, without sparks, elegant and inevitable. He grabs a stick and begins drawing in the dirt, sketching the design as his companion watches in confusion. In that moment, Nikola Tesla invents the future. But the world isn't ready yet. He takes his idea to Paris, where he works for the Continental Edison Company. He refines the design, builds prototypes, tries to get anyone to listen. But Europe is not interested. So in 1884, with little more than a letter of introduction and 4 cents in his pocket, he boards a ship to America. New York is a shock to the senses. It is loud, crowded, filthy, and alive with ambition. Tesla arrives with almost nothing, but he has something more valuable than money. He has a letter to Thomas Edison. Edison is already a celebrity, the wizard of Menlo Park, the man who brought electric light to the world. He is practical, relentless, and deeply invested in direct current. Tesla is hired to work in Edison's lab, and for a time, the two men coexist. But they are opposites in every way. Edison is an empiricist, testing thousands of materials to find one that works. Tesla is a theorist, visualizing the solution before he ever touches a tool. Edison promises Tesla $50,000 if he can improve the efficiency of Edison's direct current generators. Tesla works for months, redesigning the machines, making them far more efficient. When he asks for the payment, Edison laughs. "Tesla," he says, "you don't understand our American humor." Tesla resigns immediately. For a time, he digs ditches to survive. The man who has just revolutionized electrical engineering is shoveling dirt for $2 a day. He does not complain. He simply waits. And then, in 1887, he meets the men who will change everything. Alfred S. Brown and Charles F. Peck are investors, and they see what Edison could not. The future does not run on direct current. They fund Tesla's laboratory, and within a year, he files the patents for his alternating current motor and power distribution system. The designs are so complete, so elegant, that they will remain fundamentally unchanged for over a century. But patents are not enough. Tesla needs someone with the resources to build his vision at scale. He needs George Westinghouse. Westinghouse is a giant of industry, a man who built an empire on air brakes for trains. He is also a gambler, willing to bet on ideas others dismiss. When he sees Tesla's alternating current system, he recognizes it immediately as the key to the future. In 1888, he licenses Tesla's patents for $60,000 in cash, stock, and a royalty of $2.50 per horsepower of electricity sold. If that contract had held, Tesla would have become one of the wealthiest men in history. But the world has other plans. What follows is a war, not fought with guns, but with money, propaganda, and public spectacle. It is called the War of the Currents, and it is vicious. Edison, desperate to protect his direct current empire, launches a campaign to portray alternating current as deadly. He funds public demonstrations where animals, dogs, horses, even an elephant, are electrocuted using AC power. He lobbies for the electric chair to use alternating current, hoping to associate it with death in the public mind. The first execution is botched, horrific, and widely publicized. Tesla and Westinghouse fight back with something more powerful than fear: proof. In 1893, they win the contract to light the world's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. It is the first all-electric World's Fair, and it is a revelation. Over 27 million people walk through those grounds, bathed in the light of Tesla's alternating current. They see fountains lit from below, buildings outlined in glowing bulbs, entire pavilions powered by electricity that travels from generators miles away. It is magic made real. And then, in 1896, Tesla and Westinghouse do the impossible. They harness Niagara Falls. The Niagara Falls hydroelectric plant is the first large-scale AC power station, sending electricity 20 miles to Buffalo, New York. It is a triumph of engineering, a vindication of everything Tesla has fought for. The world begins to change. Cities light up. Factories hum. The age of electricity has arrived, and it runs on alternating current. But Tesla's royalties, the ones that should have made him unimaginably wealthy, are renegotiated. Westinghouse is in financial trouble, and he asks Tesla to tear up the contract. Tesla, out of loyalty, out of some strange mixture of idealism and naivety, agrees. He walks away for millions. He tells a friend, "The benefits of my system will be felt long after I am gone." He is right, but he will never see a dime. Now, with the war of the currents behind him, Tesla turns his gaze towards something even more audacious. If electricity can be transmitted through wires, why not through the air? Why not through the earth itself? In 1899, he moves to Colorado Springs, where lightning storms are frequent and powerful. He builds a laboratory on the prairie, a strange wooden structure with a tower rising from its center. Inside, he constructs the largest Tesla coil ever built, a device capable of generating millions of volts. On a summer night, he powers it on. The coil roars to life. Lightning arcs from the tower, crackling across the sky in bolts over 100 feet long. The ground beneath the laboratory hums with energy. Light bulbs, planted in the earth miles away, glow without wires. Tesla stands in the center of it all, electricity dancing around him, his coat singed, his eyes wide with wonder. He believes he has tapped into the Earth's natural resonance, that he can send power anywhere on the planet without a single wire. He writes in his journal that he has made contact with signals from space, though it is more likely he detected natural radio waves or interference from distant storms. Still, in that moment, he is convinced he is listening to something beyond the world. What he saw in lightning, others saw as madness. He returns to New York with a vision that will consume the rest of his life. He calls it Wardenclyffe. On Long Island, he begins construction of a tower, an enormous structure, over 180 feet tall, topped with a copper dome. Beneath it, he plans to sink iron pipes deep into the earth, creating a resonance system that will broadcast power and information across the globe. Free energy for everyone. Wireless communication decades before radio becomes commonplace. He secures funding from J.P. Morgan, one of the most powerful financiers in the world. Morgan gives him $150,000. Tesla begins to build. But then, in 1901, Guglielmo Marconi sends the first transatlantic radio signal. It is a simple Morse code message, nothing compared to what Tesla envisions, but it is practical, immediate, and commercial. Investors flock to Marconi. Tesla's funding dries up. He writes desperate letters to Morgan, explaining that Wardenclyffe is not just about communication, it is about power, about transforming civilization. Morgan writes back with a single line, "I have received your letter. I have no further interest." Tesla continues to build, pouring his own money into the project. But it is not enough. The tower is never completed. In 1917, it is dynamited, sold for scrap to pay Tesla's debts. The man who lit the world cannot keep the lights on in his own laboratory. And so begins the long, quiet descent. Tesla moves from hotel to hotel, unable to pay his bills, surviving on credit and the fading goodwill of a few loyal friends. He continues to work, filing patents, giving occasional lectures. But the world has moved on. Marconi wins the Nobel Prize for Radio, using patents that are largely based on Tesla's earlier work. Tesla sues and eventually wins, but the verdict comes in 1943, months after his death, and by then, no one is paying attention. He develops routines, rituals. He feeds pigeons in Bryant Park every day, carrying bags of seed, speaking to them softly. He becomes obsessed with the number 3. He walks around a block 3 times before entering a building, uses 18 napkins at meals, stays in hotel rooms divisible by 3. Some call it eccentricity, others madness. It is more likely a coping mechanism, a way to impose order on a mind that has never stopped racing. He falls in love, in his own way, with a white pigeon. He writes that she visits him at his window, that she understands him in a way no human ever has. When she dies, he says a light goes out inside him. There is no mockery in this. There is only a man utterly alone, finding companionship in the only creature that asks nothing of him. But even in isolation, his mind does not stop. He writes about renewable energy, about harnessing the sun and the wind. He describes devices that sound like modern drones, like particle beam weapons, like systems for wireless transmission of data. In 1937, he gives an interview where he outlines a vision of artificial intelligence machines that think, that learn, that adapt. The reporter does not understand. The article is published in a small journal and forgotten. Tesla dies on January 7, 1943, in room 3327 of a New Yorker hotel. He is 86 years old. He dies alone, as he has lived for decades. The mate finds him the next morning. The FBI seizes his papers, concerned that his research might be valuable to the war effort. Most of it is later returned to his family, but some files remain classified to this day. His funeral is small. A few scientists attend, a few friends. The world barely notices. But the world he built, the world of wireless communication, of renewable energy, of electric cars and smartphones and power grids that stretch across continents, that world is just beginning. Today, every time you turn on a light, you are using Tesla's alternating current. Every time you charge your phone wirelessly, you are using principles he discovered. The electric motors in modern vehicles, the transformers that power cities, the radio waves that carry your voice across the planet. All of it traces back to a man who died in debt, feeding pigeons. Elon Musk names his car company after him. Engineers revere him. His face appears on currency, on stamps, in textbooks. But for most of his life, he was invisible. There is a particular cruelty in being right too soon, in seeing the future so clearly that you cannot live in the present. Tesla's mind was a storm that never touched ground, and the world, bound by wires and budgets and the slow turning of industry, could not keep up. He gave us the 21st century. He solved problems we didn't even know we had. And in return, the world gave him poverty, obscurity, and a lonely room with a view of the city he had illuminated. In the end, Tesla's tragedy is not that he failed. It is that he succeeded in a world that was not yet ready to understand what he had done. He was an exile, not from a place, but from time itself. And perhaps that is the nature of genius, to be perpetually out of step, to hear music no one else can hear, to build bridges to a future that does not yet exist. The lightning he loved so much was never destruction. It was a signal, a message sent across the void, waiting for someone to listen. We are listening now, but the man who sent the message is long gone, and we will never be able to thank him. In a New York hotel room, an old man sits by the window. Outside, lightning splits the sky. He closes his eyes, and for a moment, just a moment, he is not alone. He is standing in a field of light, surrounded by towers that hum with invisible power, and the whole world is connected, and the whole world is free. He saw it all, 100 years too early. And that is the story of Nikola Tesla, the man who solved the 21st century before the 20th had even begun.